And we are live, everybody. How are you all doing? Can you guys see me? And can you guys hear me? It's been a while. But here we are. Already got about 50 people in the stream, which is a good start. So, since it seems like we're all gathered up and ready to go, I'll just go ahead and get things underway. It is now 7 o'clock. So, this is June, and not a lot is going on right now. We do have OTAs, but you don't necessarily learn a ton from OTAs. You don't necessarily have a ton to talk about. So I thought it would be a good idea to do something on this channel to keep it going. I don't want to neglect the channel for an extended period of time. I will be uploading as many videos as I can, but I thought it would be a good idea to do streams twice a week for this month and possibly July as well, because July is also possibly going to be slow. And basically, we can just talk about whatever. I'm going to address as many comments as I can. Whatever you guys want to talk about as it pertains to the Seahawks, just put it in chat and I will get to it. So I'll bring up a few initial topics. Before we get into the Seahawks discussions, though, I just want to go over things real quick. You can view the rules in the top part of the screen here. The stream is going to run until about 8 o'clock my time, so about an hour. If I need to leave the stream, I'll throw up a be right back screen for a short period of time. No spamming chat, no overly abusive behavior. Other such offenses will get you banned. I'm going to address as many comments as I can, and depending on how many people we get in here, I'll either be able to address all of them or most of them. I may miss some. Super chatted comments are guaranteed to be seen, read, and addressed, of course. Member comments are somewhat more likely to be seen, read, and addressed because visually they appear to me in a slightly different way. But I should be able to get to as many Seahawks-centric comments as are put up for the time being, because this is not going to be a stream that attracts 600 people like the draft day streams did. On the lower left corner, you can see that we have some goals. The subscriber goal and member goals are for the end of the month. Obviously, I'm not expecting a lot of new subscribers in June because June is going to be a slow month. So I set the goal at 9,000. We are like a little more than 130 away from that goal, so should be pretty reasonable. We also have a member goal, just in 10 more. I don't know if we'll get there or not. Obviously, memberships are something on YouTube that is still kind of a work in progress. They are trying to add gifted memberships, but they're only doing it for a handful of people as far as I know, and I'm not there yet. We also have a super chat goal and a tip goal. If you want a super chat, just click on the dollar symbol next to the chat. If you want a tip, there's a link in the video description, right beneath the stream description. So, those are some ways you can support the channel. All right, so a few notes that I want to open up the conversation with that are interesting. So, probably the most interesting thing with this team right now is the quarterback battle. You've got Drew Lock and you've got Geno Smith. Supposedly, so far in OTAs and camp, Drew Lock has looked better, but neither has looked bad. And most importantly, as of right now, Geno Smith is still the favorite simply because he is more experienced in this new offense. So Drew Lock has to make up some distance if he wants to be the starter. I'm going to maintain that I want Lock to be the guy. Also, we have a bit of a battle at right tackle between Jake Curhan and Abraham Lucas. As of right now, interestingly enough, Jake Curhan is starting. So that's a little bit of a surprise, I guess. Maybe it shouldn't be because Jake Curhan was here last year and Abraham Lucas was not. But I think we all expect Abraham Lucas to be starting by week 1. But that is something to certainly monitor. Artie Burns has looked really good in camp so far, for whatever that's worth, because he was a guy who I viewed as an unlikely candidate to make the team. That's about it. Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen had mixed performances thus far in OTAs. And I'm not going to read too much of anything into that. All right, let's see here. I would Just Tag says I would love to see Tanner Muse beat out Cody Barton. I kind of would too, but here's my thing. Tanner Muse is probably too small to play inside linebacker in this defense. Maybe he could have played will linebacker in the 4-3, but in a 3-4, you generally want your inside linebacker to be a little bigger. And Tanner Muse is undersized for any kind of linebacker, much less an inside linebacker in a 3-4. So if Tanner Muse has a place on this team going forward, I think it's actually going to be at safety. And that's obviously not great because we have our 2 safety spots locked up. But I do think that Tanner Muse is more likely to latch on there. Brendan Nelson's haircut, welcome. Def Want Lock. Yeah, me too. I've seen what I need to see with Geno, and he's fine. But there's not a whole lot to say about Geno other than that he's just fine. Underwear Olympics is, Michael Centalonza says, Underwear Olympics is what Clint Hurt called it. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty much accurate. But nevertheless, you work with what you have. And what we have right now is evidence that Artie Burns, because of his experience with Sean Desai, may be worming his way into a bit of a role on the defense this year, which is a little surprising to me. I wasn't even sure if he was going to make the team. Iridescent says, I really hope Lock wins. More potential. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Geno has no potential. Geno has a higher floor, but he has a much lower ceiling. Some insiders were saying that the Seahawks were interested in Cam Newton as well. That doesn't make any sense to me, Dime. We have 2 quarterbacks on this team who are better than Cam, unless you're tanking. If you're saying we're going to get Cam Newton so we can go 2-15 or something, that makes sense. But if you're actually actively trying to win games, then you've got 2 quarterbacks on the team who are better than Cam. So I don't understand that perspective at all. Mask did say Bob shut that down. So apparently that's just something that somebody threw out there because in their mind it makes sense. Michael says, agree on Burns. Maybe if all corners are healthy, Burns can be flipped for a late round pick. Would anybody be willing to give up something for a guy like an Artie Burns? I mean, I would love to do it. I want Locke to start just because he's younger. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. I mean, look, I don't think Drew Lock's going to be the guy, but I think I just would rather see that. And by the way, if Locke is terrible, then okay, you're going to go 4-13. That's fine. You're going to need another quarterback anyway. You're going to have a better pick to do it. I think Geno will be better than Locke. Locke will hold the team back with way too many turnovers. I mean, Geno did a pretty good job protecting the ball last year, but historically, over his career, he's always been a guy who turns the ball over. So I don't know if you're going to have more turnovers with Locke. Like, Locke is definitely a little careless with the football. But Geno, I don't know if you can say he's careful with the football. He looked pretty good last year, but over the course of his career, he's always been kind of a turnover guy, to my recollection. He's Brett Favre without the scoring, and a QB like that may need to be in Canada. I mean, I'm not optimistic about him, but I'd rather see what's up. And look, if he's terrible, then okay, we get a good draft pick out of it, right? What do you think of Wilson wanting $250 million for 5 years? Look, if he has a good season, and by good season I mean like 2018, 2019 Wilson, he's going to deserve that, and he's going to have plenty of leverage to get it. I find it weird that that is supposedly what is going on right now when Wilson hasn't really played that well for the last year and a half. Like, based off the way Wilson has played for the last year and a half, he doesn't deserve anywhere near that much money. If he gets back to form from 2018 and 2019, he does. I get that part of it. That's fine. But it's kind of weird that conversation would come up now. Mass Temple says Locke has poor footwork and decision making, but as arm talent, he is top 10. He does have a big arm, but so did Kyle Bowler, so we need more than that. Tommy Eden, we know what Geno is and where he tops out, but I don't think anyone can say what Lock is capable of. For me, that is more of a reason to play Lock. Yeah, it works both ways. He could be a lot worse than Geno, but he could also be a lot better than Geno. Um, if he's a lot worse, cool. We get a better draft pick. If he's a lot better, cool. We backed our way into a franchise quarterback. I think it's very likely that he's either really bad or really good. And that's way more interesting than Geno. Michael, I'm curious as to what they're doing at receiver. The top four guys are all back. We drafted two guys that probably make the team, plus Goodwin is brought in. Something's got to give. I'm wondering if maybe Freddie Swain's on the outs. I don't think we're giving up on Eskridge. It's too late to trade Lockett or Metcalf, I think. Maybe we try to sneak Derek Young on the practice squad. That's the only thing that makes sense to me otherwise. Chosen one, Cam Newton could be a good tanking QB. Yeah, that's the way I get it. Like, if you want to bring in Cam to lose a lot of games, okay, but that's not the Pete Carroll way. Pete Carroll's trying to... He really values those 6 wins, unfortunately. Mass Temple, if Luck does pan out, having 2 firsts and 2 seconds to build this team will be great for the long term. Oh my god, yes. I mean, I did my way too early mock draft in a few days ago, and I was able to get a really good interior linebacker prospect. I was able to rebuild the defensive line. I was able to get some offensive line depth, get the center, and that was with me spending my top pick on Will Levis. But if you don't need to spend your top pick on Will Levis, then you could use that pick instead on a linebacker like what's the Alabama guy, Will Anderson? And then, wow, you're really ready to go. Tommy Eden, you can teach footwork and decision making. You can't teach a stronger arm. Look at Josh Allen. That is exactly what happened with him. Yeah, Tommy, I'd like to believe that Shane Waldron is capable of doing that with a quarterback, but he doesn't have anything in his track record that indicates he can do that yet. So we'll see if that ends up happening. It's not like every quarterback with a lot of arm talent is capable of becoming a great quarterback, of course. But you're right, Josh Allen's actually an interesting example. Tumbo, people are saying we won this trade already based off those reports. I'm just wondering, like, okay, what if he has a really good year? Is he going to ask for 300 million? Because if he's asking for 250 million based off now, that's... What does that say if he has another great season? If he, like, competes for MVP? Is he going to ask for 300, 400 million? He probably could if he has a big season. But at the end of the day, I think people need to understand that unless you're very, very, very lucky, if you want an elite quarterback, you have to give them elite money. The issue that I have with Wilson supposedly already asking for this kind of money is the last year and a half, he hasn't really done anything. I mean, he's played okay. The numbers are good. So, I don't know. It really depends on what he does on the field this year. I can't say we won the trade yet. I think we're headed in the right direction, but we need time. Austin Roberts, Drew Lock, I think can be decent backup, but I don't like him as a starter, kind of Tavares Jackson. Yeah, I mean, I would personally prefer if Drew Lock would either be a really, really good quarterback or a terrible quarterback. That way we can either have a big season or get that top pick. I don't want him to just be mediocre. I don't want him to be Teddy Bridgewater. So go for it, Drew. Go for it. Even if you fall in the volcano, it's okay. Bash Gordon, Drew Lock is a good backup in the long run at the least. At best, there is a slight minimum chance that he could be next year's Brett Favre after he left Atlanta. Either way, he's 25. And he's not under contract in 2023. So if he's no good, you can let him go or bring him back for the vet minimum. So you're not really betting anything on him. You're just tossing a season away. And maybe some people are not into the whole idea of tossing a season away, but everything we're doing right now indicates that we kind of are. So if that's the strategy, then I can respect it. Josh T. Robertson. Drew Lock was in a constant shuffle of coaching staff and offensive schemes while in Denver. He probably just needs stability. Well, I don't know if that would create his bad footwork and bad decision-making, Josh, necessarily anyway. Some of that stuff is on him, right? Like, you can still have good footwork despite having a shuffle of coaching staff and offensive schemes. So I don't know if you can put that all on the coaching staff and schemes, but you're right. Maybe this will be the offense that caters to his skill set. It has been said that the Denver offense in Lock's rookie year is very similar to the Waldron offense, which is where Lock had his most success in the NFL. Iridescence, Wilson will be great in Denver. I just don't think he'll make a Super Bowl. I mean, it's going to be really hard to make a Super Bowl. It always is, but you're playing in the AFC West, you're playing in the AFC in general. Like, I don't think Denver's going to be better than Buffalo. I don't think Denver's going to be better than Kansas City or even Los Angeles, the Chargers. So there's just a lot you have to get through. So he could be great, and you're right. It could end up in him not even getting to the title game. Grug, I honestly think he can be good here. He played pretty well his rookie season, and apparently Waldron's system is similar to what the Broncos ran in 2019 Lock's rookie year. Yeah. Yes, Grug, that's what I've been hearing as well, and it makes you wonder. It's worth watching, I guess. Michael, I like Lock and think he can play. He can definitely play, but will he play? Like, he's got a big arm, and he's been showing off that big arm in OTA so far, supposedly. Drew Lock is young and has upside. Yes, exactly. That's why I want to see what's up. Don't want Cam for no reason. I mean, look, if you really want to tank, just play Nick Ballore and Wildcat the whole season or something. Just play Ben Burkervin at Wildcat, right? At a certain point, if you're going to be bad, go for it all. Go for that 0-17 season. Austin Roberts, either way, this is a rebuild season. Rather be bad with Geno or Lock because they aren't making 40 million like Russ. Yeah, that's kind of what I always say to these people. I get a lot of comments who say like, neither of these quarterbacks are good enough. We need to get a little better at quarterback. We need to get Baker Mayfield. We need to get Cam Newton. We need to get this guy. We need to get that guy. What I always say is that we were bad last year with Russell Wilson. So last year you're bad with Wilson. You lose Wagner, who, whatever you think of him, he's better than Barton. And you don't really do that much in free agency to make your team better. Most of your draft picks are spent on players who are here for the long term, not immediate returns. So then what? Like, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to be good, you need to get somebody better than Wilson. Because as of right now, you've lost Wilson and Wagner, not replaced them with much. And then, are you going to go get Josh Allen? Are you going to get Pat Mahomes? Are you going to get Aaron Rodgers? No. So, what's the point? You're still going to be bad. If you're bad last year with Wilson, you lose stuff, and then you go into 2020 with a quarterback who is better than Lock, but a lot worse than Wilson. And I promise you guys, whatever little you think of Wilson, and I know some of you think Wilson is bad, he's better than Baker Mayfield. How is that going to produce anything better? That doesn't make any sense to me. No on Cam? Yeah, I agree. Tumbo, Jared Goff started being asked when Shane became Rams QB coach and eventually passing game coordinator. I mean, I think there were a lot of things that went into that, Tumbo. I was Locke really... I can't remember Goff's stats at the end there compared to where he was. Obviously, he had that one really good year where he threw for like 4,000 yards and made the Super Bowl, but there were other things that contributed to that, and I think we all know that it's Sean McVay's offense at the end of the day. Ellis Foster, I hope Cross and Gilmore do good on the offensive line. Me too, Ellis. Cross should be a day one starter. Gilmore, I don't know if he will be, but hopefully he finds a way to make the team. Motive, no to Cam, no to Baker, no to any QB right now, with the only exception being Gardner. Gardner can play. I don't think you can get Gardner away from Philly. They gave up a pick for him. So I don't think you're getting him. Maybe next year he's a free agent. I don't think you can get him right now. T-Man, apparently the report of Russell Wilson asking for $250 million is false. According to who, though, I would wonder? Is that coming from Wilson, or is it coming from the person who initially reported it? Who is saying that it is false? Because there have been a lot of false reports around Russell Wilson going back to when we were told that he wasn't going to be traded, and then he was. Michael, if anything, without Russ, it will be refreshing to see the tight ends targeted more, and I think we're going to see an entirely different offense. Yeah, I mean, Wilson was historically good in some areas, like the deep ball, but he was also historically bad in other areas. Like, he's a very unique player, regardless of how great or terrible or whatever he is in certain areas. Overall, he's one of the most unique players in NFL history, I think. He's got one of the greatest deep balls of all time, but he's historically bad on third down. He's got elite elusiveness, but he's atrocious throwing the ball over the middle. Well, for like the last 5-6 years, he was bottom in the league in throwing the ball over the middle of the field. So very unique. It's definitely going to be different. It's just because of that. Just tags. How many QBs won Super Bowls while taking up that much of the cap? Clearly, Tom Brady knew what he was doing. Well, tags. This is going to sound a little cynical, but I think we need to accept something here. Most players, I would say a vast majority of players in the NFL care more about money than they do winning. They would rather make as much money as they can, and if they never win a Super Bowl, then whatever, who cares? Super Bowl isn't keeping my food on my family's table in 100 years. It's not creating generation or wealth. I think a vast majority of NFL players would, if they were offered like, hey, you can make an extra $100 million, but you'll never be on a winning team, I think they would mostly be okay with that. So I think these players know that, and they're totally cool with it. And honestly, if you were an NFL player, would you feel differently? I know I wouldn't. I want to make money. Like, I could die on any given play, playing this very violent game that is going to beat the crap out of my body. I want my money. So I get that. Chosen one, Wilson played decent with a mediocre defense. He played excellent with the Legion of Boom. Well, he had his best years with a mediocre defense, Chosen one. I mean, his best years were what? 2018, 2019, the first part of 2020. Like, he didn't have a very good defense then. Boy. Okay. Thank you, Mass Temple. I have Lock passing under 30 touchdowns, but I'm seeing Walker running more than 1,000 yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns. Well, it depends on how much Penny gets the ball too on that one, but I mean, there's going to be so much more in evaluating Drew Lock than just how many touchdowns he throws. Obviously, Zua. Rogers Green, Wilson isn't as good as he thinks in his head. He's Tom Brady, actually no better than Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls. Well, of course he's not Tom Brady. He's not even close to Tom Brady. He's better than Eli Manning. Eli Manning had never was at no point in Eli Manning's career was he a top 3 quarterback. Wilson has a couple years where he was, so he's definitely better than Eli Manning, I think. But yeah, I mean, we don't have to use hyperbole here. He's somewhere between those two guys. Ellis Foster, he's 6'4", taller than Russell, better vision over the line with an arm, and he played in the AFC. Well, kind of everybody has better vision than Russell over the line because everyone's taller than him. Wilson was always able to overcome that with the other things that he did very, very well. That was always the thing. But as time went on, he got less and less good at those things. So we'll see how this ends up going over in Denver, where, you know, he chose Denver in a way, right? Like, he okayed the trade, so he must think whatever's going on over there is better than what he had here. So it's all on him now. Drew Lock had very, very good weapons. He's just not that good. His weapons were pretty good over in Denver for the most part. I don't think he loses that much when he comes over here. He might lose a little bit, but also we're also hearing that Vic Fangio may have had something to do with Drew Lock and his struggles. I'm interested to see if that change in scenery might help. That does happen sometimes. Just tags Drew Lock potentially replacing Geno at backup if he doesn't play good and we draft a quarterback. Sure, whoever wants to be cheaper, really. And also, Geno's getting older. Like, Geno could retire. He's made his money. Tumbo, his tape is poor because the truth is he's a poor player. I mean, his footwork is not good. There are problems. There are definitely problems. But We're going to get a year to see, and then his contract's up. So whether or not he's here is completely up to whether or not he can do something worthwhile out there. Iridescence, do you think Kenneth Walker could be a home run pick or just another great back? Possibly worse. I don't know if I would call it a home run pick, but I think he's going to be really good for us. The thing to realize is that he might only be here 4 years because he's a running back, but over those 4 years, I think we will get our money's worth. Zua Zeroa, Fant will make at least 700 yards. I mean, with the extra game, he probably should be able to, right? It's not even that hard to do, especially if we're going to be playing from behind a lot. So, I guess. I don't know if that makes him a great tight end, but sure. Lucas Funa, what's up? What's up, man? I'm doing good. PretentiousCameron, when will the DK deal get done? Seems weird they haven't signed anything yet. I don't know. Doesn't seem like anybody has any real urgency about it, so I'm not worried about it. Ellis Foster, Walker is going to be great. Yeah, I think he'll be great for that rookie deal. And then maybe we move on, but that's the way it should work with running backs, generally speaking. Austin Roberts, I think Seahawks will be 7-10 like last season. That's kind of what I think right now, which I want to be clear. I don't like that. I'd rather go 4-13, but I think this defense is going to be pretty good. So I think we're going to win a few more games than I would like. I know some people don't like that mentality. I know some people don't like talking about that stuff. They want to win as much as they can, and I'm not talking about tanking. But if you're going to be bad, what's the difference between 4 wins and 7 wins at the end of the day? Rogers Green, Lock takes too many risks with the ball. Seahawks will tame that tendency. I don't know if we'll tame it, but he definitely does take too many risks with the ball, and that's part of the problem here. Seahawks should get Eric Berry, air quarterback, or DeAndre Johnson, QB, to battle Geno, Drew, Jacob. I don't know anything about those guys. Hey, Maury Taylor. Wilson's good at saying ride Broncos ride. Well, that's not too hard to do. His rookie year, he played against 5 of the worst teams in the NFL that year and only threw 7 touchdowns. He's not good at all. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff in that rookie year that's a little overrated. I think some people are putting too much stuff on some of that, but it's better than what he did the next couple years in a different offense, so it's a good starting point. Mass Temple, if we talking about tape, the couple games he played this past season, he played decently. Yeah, I mean, he didn't play that much. It's such a small sample size, it's hard to take much from it. I don't know. I'm just not optimistic about Drew Lock, but I do want to see what he can do. I want to give him every opportunity while we're dealing with this. Like, it's going to be a bad season anyway. James Larson, keep it simple. A simple offense is a good one. Give the QB outs and easy plays. A good run game will really help him out. Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of the most successful offenses right now, a lot of it is very simple. 1 read, throw the ball. 2 reads, throw the ball. Wide open receivers who get schemed open. Like, you keep it simple. I think we took some steps in that regard last year. I think that exists the possibility for a simple offense to keep working. You just need the quarterback to not get greedy, and it can work. Amari Taylor, did you hear about Russ wants a $250 million contract? Apparently there's some debate over whether or not that's true, but it's believable. And honestly, if he has a good season, he deserves that. He should get that money if he has a big year, but he has to have the big year. Talking about it right now, to me, is suspect because the last year and a half just hasn't been very good for him. So I don't know where that came from. But based off the way he's played the last year and a half, he doesn't deserve anywhere near that much money. Zua, big arm still worries me. His vision and anticipation really needs to be worked on, but he has a gun for an arm and a frame and the frame of a QB. Yeah, but luckily those are things that can at least be coached. I just don't know if our coaching staff is the one to do it. Motive, Nick is a beast. He might be able to pull Wildcat off. I'd take him at QB over Eason. I don't believe in Eason at all. I believe in Lock way more than Eason. And that's saying something. I'd say, yeah, okay, they're talking more about Russell Wilson's contract. We're going to see a lot of run action and play action with Lock because that is his strength. I mean, generally speaking, I think teams should run play action almost constantly. Like, you should just keep doing play action because the stats show It makes your offense better. The more play action, the better. And we were doing a pretty good amount of play action last year. We were starting to move in the right direction there, but we got to keep moving in that direction. That was one of the things about the offense last year that I kind of liked. There was a decent amount of play action, but we got to keep it moving. It wasn't enough. Zua, well, at least the B crop of QBs on 2023 draft will be better than this year's draft. Yeah, I agree. It's a really good draft for quarterbacks next year. I've talked about it a little bit before. Tommy Eden, what's the deal with Carson? I heard it would cost us more if we cut him because he fails his medical, which is odd to me. Do we just keep him in that case? I mean, I guess so. He did get hurt playing football, so therefore we would owe him money if we let him go because of the injury. That's how NFL contracts worked. That's what happened with Cam Chancellor. Yes, please hit the like button, Ellis. Thank you, Alex Foster. Everybody, please hit the like button. Regardless, I'm excited to see our team cross Lucas. Lewis Curhan might be the new O-line. Well, there's no way Lucas and Curhan can both play at the same time, James, so it's only going to be one of those two, but yeah, generally speaking, I know what you're saying. I think it's completely possible for Drew Lock to pull a Ryan Tannehill and become an average to above average quarterback. I would be pretty happy with that. You can win with a guy like a Ryan Tannehill. He's not going to be the reason why you win, but you can win with him, so sure. It's going to, pretentious Cameron, it's going to be fun to have a QB that isn't afraid of his touchdown to interception ratio going down. Wilson played scared. I did read an article on field goals about how the only thing worse than turnovers was being so afraid of the turnover that you don't take any chances. And we were getting some of that with Wilson, just like with Rodgers. And I think that playoff game, Frisco against Green Bay, was a great example. Rodgers was so afraid of turning the ball over that he never took any chances, and the Packers lost because their special team screwed up. And to me, that is still one of the strangest games I've ever seen in my life. Like what happened in that game was just, I don't understand it. But I think it all comes back to Aaron Rodgers being so afraid of turnovers that he would rather just not turn it over and lose almost. This year, especially especially third down was so bad that teams had such a better time advantage because we went 3 and out so many times. Yeah, it can't get worse. It can't get worse this year no matter what you do, almost, really. It's impossible to be worse in terms of time of possession than we were last year, pretty much. So, that's good. Motive, food on the table in 100 years. Love that. Market that quote. Thank you, Motive. Boya B, that's right. I want my money. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these players feel that way, and I don't really blame them. Hey, Green 80. Honestly, I want Rashad Penny to basically redshirt and then play him when we inevitably let go of Rashad Penny. I'm not sure what you mean there, David. I do think Hawks will be 500 or better. I don't see that. Not with this schedule. I say 7 and 10. I wouldn't mind being worse. I think a lot of Seahawks fans are really upset about Wilson leave or try to diminish how good he was and try to big up trash-ass Drew Lock to be some savior. I don't think that at all, Tumbo. Because I was doing these videos for years when Wilson was here, including last year. A huge percentage of my viewers were sick of Wilson last year. I don't think that's the case at all. And this was with Wilson was here when it looked like he was going to remain here for the foreseeable future. You can look in the old Discord. You can look in the comment section of my old videos. People were sick of Wilson. And that was when he was here. So I don't actually think that that's what's going on here. So I actually feel like mostly the Seahawks fans that were big fans of Wilson when he was here are still big fans of him and still think he's really good. And then the people who were sick of him when he was here are still the people who are sick of him. So I don't know. I'm not seeing it that way, though. Whose O-line is better now, though, Broncos or Seahawks? Last year, Broncos' offensive line was terrible at pass protection, but really good at run blocking, I think. So probably still them, I guess, because we're going to be starting 2 rookies. But I don't know if the Broncos' line is good, is the thing. I don't think they moved a ton of stuff around. They moved a little bit of stuff around. Boya B signed DK 4 years, I agree. It's Jose. Yes, Locke did have good weapons. He also had 4 offensive coordinators in 4 seasons, so I wouldn't consider him to be a bad QB yet. Yeah, but now he's going to have a 5th in 5 years, right? Or, well, no, 4th in 4 years, because he was only in Denver 3 years. I think Seattle might be worried about DK's ankle. It doesn't seem like it's going to be anything big enough. I mean, he played through it, so I don't know. I don't think he's going to be willing to play out that contract, though, is the thing. So you got to extend him or trade him before the season starts. And I think it's too late to trade him. You should have done it at the draft if you were going to do it. We should be looking at who Lock's QB coach was in Denver, IMO. That is crucial to a young QB's development. It could explain why he never really developed. Huh? Maybe. Maybe. It's not like he... It's not like he was good in Denver, though, so I don't know if you want to bring the same guy. Yeah, motive kind of goes into it. That's the kind of narrative that I saw from a lot of Seahawks fans over the last year and a half. And most of them stuck to it, and most of the ones who didn't believe in that have stuck to that. So I think what you're seeing right now from Seahawks fans is basically what you were seeing from them when Wilson was here. Herbicide, I kind of see that with Drew Lock also. I think with good coaching, he should be decent. I mean, the offense this year should be simple, right? Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, play action. Any QB should be able to have some success in that system, even if you're not very good. I have us going 6-11 with the potential of 5-12. I just want to have a good enough draft pick to get the man, the myth, the legend, Will Levis. So I'm down with it. Noah, under the circumstances of injuries, maybe unlucky games, etc., would you consider tanking the last few games with rookies, etc., to get someone like Anderson? He's a monster and Pete would love him. It's not really about tanking. It's just about recognizing the situation and realizing that you don't need to be putting some players at risk. You you've got way more losses than wins, and you've got a player playing, and you've got some of your best players playing with minor injuries. Just sit them down, right? Why risk it? Why mess with it? If you had the choice, would you have kept Russ or continue with where we're at now? Um, knowing that, knowing what I know now, I guess it's okay. I didn't really like it when we did it very much. Now that I know we've had a good draft, or what I perceive to be a good draft, I'm okay with it. I'm not convinced that it was the right thing to do yet. We're just gonna have to see how he plays. But I will say this: this is way better than keeping him and then not doing anything with him. We haven't won shit in 7 years, so whatever. Iridescence, if you had the choice, would you have kept Russ or continue? Oh no, I'm sorry, I already read that. My bad. 1 second here, guys. We're about halfway through the stream. Let me take 1 second here to check something. Something I wanted to take a look at here. Yeah, okay. Lock started some games last year and did terrible with two running backs. It was only 3 games, though, Tumbo. It's such a small sample size. Like, I don't think that's necessarily indicative of who he is. I would be much more interested in using his 2020 season when he actually played a lot. I don't think a few games in when Teddy Two Gloves wins the job is necessarily indicative of anything. Boney N, I think our O-line is going to be the best in years. It's probably not going to be great this year because we have rookies. It's Jose. I know you talked about this in another video, but you think Goodwin should be receiver 2 over Swain? Well, neither guy's receiver 2, but I do think Goodwin's probably a little better. Neither guy's wide receiver 3 as well. Goodwin's probably a little better than Swain, but Goodwin's also much older, so maybe you keep Swain. He's also cheaper. It doesn't really make any difference to me. The worse the Hawks are this year, the better. Get us a solid QB next year. I kind of agree. Amari Taylor. What QB you want in next year's draft? Will Levis. Nugash. Broncos fans seem to like Lock, and they blame the coaching staff instead of him. There are more bad QBs who hated by the fans. I've seen some Broncos fans say some nice things about him, and I've seen others not. So, I don't know. That could go either way. What I hear that Curhan is a guard prospect as well, so maybe left guard for him if Abe beats him at RT. I don't think Curhan's a guard at all. No, I don't think Curhan can play guard at all. I think he is a pure right tackle. I think putting him at guard is a recipe for disaster. Remember when we tried to play Ethan Posick at guard? It didn't go well. Some players can only play one position. I want to get a real left guard. I think Curhan's lack of mobility at left guard would kill him. Herbicide, the guys I would like to see go are Jackson, Carson, and Amadi. I'd be cool with all that. David, what do you think about BWAG supposedly hearing about his own release on TV before he heard it from the front office? Personally, I think it may deter players from coming to Seattle. David, apparently that was not real. Apparently the Seahawks tried to contact him, and I didn't follow the whole thing, but apparently Bobby admitted he was kind of ignoring the call because he knew they were calling to let him go, and he didn't want to answer it. He said something that implied that, and if that's the case, then whatever, we did what we could. So the initial information we had was not accurate, I guess. Curran is a right tackle. Yes, Herbicide, I agree. Do you think Homer or Walker are the primary third down back? Oh, Homer. Walker's not going to be a good third down back right now. He's not a good blocker, and he has very limited experience catching the ball. Tommy Eden, I thought the last few games of the season our offense looked good, even if Russ didn't. I mean, Russ was airmailing 5-yard throws, but the receivers were wide open. The last few games of the season, we were playing the Bears, missing their best players, the Lions, missing all of their best players, and the Cardinals, who were in the middle of a late season slide. So I think that was a big part of the reason why the offense looked pretty good. Mass Temple, Curhan was so bad at left guard, I don't ever want to see it again. 3 of the 4 sacks he gave up last year were at guard and only 1 at right tackle. Exactly. Exactly, Mask. Exactly. Don't mess around with it. Tumbo, I think we go 4-13. I'm down with that. And it wouldn't shock me, especially if we have a few injuries. Y2K, I would just want us to trash Russell Wilson week 1. ACL incoming. I'm not looking to knock anybody out, but it would be a fun win to get for sure. I don't see it yet, man. I just don't see it. Be fun. Think how hyped people would be after that one. Hey, Brendan, do you play Elden Ring? If yes, what's your build? I have not started Elden Ring yet. I will. I'm going to play it on PC, so part of it is I want the game to get all its bugs worked out on PC. Apparently, there are still some issues with it. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but I am going to play Elden Ring. I'm going to stream the whole thing on Twitch, too, by the way. PretentiousCameron, I do legitimately think that Seattle wins week 1. It's conceivable, of course. That's the nature of NFL football. Every game's winnable. You don't ever have those games where it's like Alabama versus Tennessee Chattanooga, where you know Alabama's going to win by 8 touchdowns. That's not how it works in the NFL, but I'm just not there yet, personally. I like Russ and I don't hate him, but I'm hoping for his downfall so we can get a better draft pick. Yeah, David, that's kind of the situation that we're in. We gotta, I mean, how nice would that be, right? 2 top first-round picks and the knowledge that you sold high on Wilson at the exact right time. If that's the way this ends up going, then, you know, I'm going to have to take back some of the things I said about Carroll, because as much as he may have failed to do a lot of things over the last several years, he did get out at the right time of the Russell Wilson stock. Boya B, what would you think if Drew Lock have a better year than Russ? Well, that would be very surprising. I don't know what I would think. Tommy, no, I don't mean bringing his QB coach from Denver. I mean, Lock might be good, just he never got good QB coaching when he came into the league. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Maybe. Theron, Top Billin channel, thinks we should take Spencer Rattler in next draft. Please no. Yeah, it seems like his reputation is kind of getting dragged through the mud right now. I'm not a big fan of that. We'll see what he does this year, though. He's going to get the opportunity to prove some people wrong, I guess. Grug, it's either Drew Lock or Will Levis for me. That's kind of where I am, too, but there are other quarterbacks in this draft I like. KJ Jefferson's very interesting. He kind of looks like, he looks a lot like, I think Cam Newton. I think KJ Jefferson's the Cam Newton lookalike. Like, that would be fun. Not really the kind of thing you want to see in the Waldron offense, but... And at the end of the day, I think he's going to be good in that role. Frody420, I get you guys don't believe in Drew, but I do, and he can be a guy. It's all speculation right now. 12-5 against Russ in the Super Bowl. I mean, if we made the Super Bowl, then I would take it, but getting picked 32 and 31 would kind of be disappointing. I don't know. I don't know. It depends on your perspective. Thank you, Weston Bradley. Been watching you for a while. I appreciate your hustle with this channel. Appreciate it. Tumbo, he was terrible the year he started 16 and eventually lost his job to Teddy, who was the definition of average. Y'all got to stop trying to make Drew have some hope of being good. Well, why not? He's only been in the league 3 years. It's a lot more likely than Geno, who's been in the league for 9 years, who's been on 4 different teams, ton of different offenses, ton of different offensive coordinators. At least Drew Lock, he's only been on 1 team. It's only been 3 years. Stuff like that does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Iridescence, appreciate you answering all our questions in all the streams. Love the content. Thank you, Iridescence. Just tags, we might have brought Goodwin in to do jet sweeps and plays like that. I just thought about it because he's crazy fast. Yeah, but we already have a couple guys who can do that theoretically, right? Like, Eskridge is supposed to be that guy. So, I guess we're getting insurance for that. But is there going to be room on the roster for Goodwin? I'm not convinced. Grug, I want Noah Sewell or Trenton Simpson with our other first. Yeah, my thing with Sewell is he's not good in coverage, which makes him a bad match for Brooks, but Trenton Simpson would be nice. And I think Sewell will be good too. Bridgewater didn't do well in Denver's offense either last year, Mark Charles. Yeah, but the thing is we know Bridgewater isn't that good, so that's not a vote of confidence. Nolan Vance getting the tipping started with the $10 tip. Thank you. Thanks for the great content as always. Feeling excited for the first time in a few years, even knowing the Hawks will be mediocre next year. Really solid start. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Vance, for getting the tips started. Let me make sure I got that whole thing. Hold on one second here, guys. That's the one thing with tipping that's not ideal, is that sometimes the message disappears and it's hard to pull it back up. Sorry about that, guys. 1 second here. Yeah, really solid start to the rebuild. Lock for me this year. Yeah, I hope it's Lock. I really hope it's Lock. Just because it's more interesting than Geno. Okay, we know Geno's just going to be kind of boring and mediocre. Lock is either going to be great or terrible. And that's way more interesting than just being blah, right? If you're going to fail spectacularly. The great thing about our draft this year is if it pans out, we can use most, if not all of our draft picks next year to trade up for any QB we want. Yeah, I personally hope we don't have to, of course, though, Tommy. So, we do still have needs, and the interior offensive line, inside linebacker, defensive line, maybe 1 or 2 other things. Mason, this isn't word for word, but a couple of weeks after the trade, Pete said in a presser in regards to Lock, he's had turnover problems, but that won't work here. Pete won't let Lock make his defense look bad. Well, I don't know how to read to that. Are they saying that they're not going to play Lock because they know he turns the ball over too much? Or are they going to curb those tendencies? Because, by the way, one thing I want to talk about here real quick that's interesting is the Seahawks are now claiming they wanted to draft Drew Lock in the 2019 draft because they liked him so much. Now, that could be BS, but if it is true, if it is the case, then that means we were trying to move on from Russell Wilson way back in 2019. Back when he was on top of the world, maybe the best quarterback in the league along with Mahomes. If that's the case, then what in the world is going on behind the scenes with this team and Russell Wilson to where they were trying to move off of him when he was in the prime of his career competing for MVPs? I can understand it now. He hasn't been great for the last year and a half. But how could they consider doing it after 2018 when Wilson had 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions? Like what? That threw me for a loop, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but if I do believe it, let's say it's correct, that means this team was trying to get rid of Wilson coming off of that season. So either they just don't like him, or there's something going on behind the scenes there that really made them hate him that we're just never going to know about. But when was the last time a quarterback playing at that level got traded? Like, okay, trading Wilson after this last year, that happens sometimes, right? He wasn't playing his best. He wasn't coming through in the clutch anymore. He there were a lot of issues that made it make a little more sense. But if you do it after 2018, that's insanity. And apparently we thought about doing it. I don't know. Cutting Blair and replacing with Bubba Bolden would be ideal. Same with Amadi. If Tariq can get the tools together with that Pete Carroll cornerback magic, those two players I'd be glad to see gone. The thing is, I think it'll take Tariq Woolen a year, if not 2 years, so you can't really plan for that yet. I don't think we're going to cut Blair because he's still cheap, and he's been fairly good when he's played. It's just he has had a hard time staying on the field, but I don't think we're going to move on from him yet. Do you think we start Penny or Walker? I don't know, and I don't think it matters. They're both going to get to play. That's the important part. I would prefer to start Walker, I guess, but it doesn't matter to me. All five winning the division and going to the Super Bowl against the Broncos, and they're going to get their butts whooped by the Hawks. It's a bold prediction, but I believe in our squad. I mean, sign me up for that, Frody, but I'm not there with you yet. Just tags. I want to have a bad record, but I also want close losses so the games are fun to watch. Most games in the NFL are close. I have a feeling we're going to get that. Sonny from North. If you're playing Elden Ring on PC, it's worth to play on controller. Oh, I definitely will, Sonny. I have a PS5 controller that I'm going to be using for sure. 100%. Mason Dahl, do you think all the depth at slot corner could boot Ryan Neal out of nickel packages? Well, Ryan Neal is at his best as a dime corner, so hopefully he stays in that role. Ryan Neal needs to play 15 to 20 snaps a game. Noah Sewell is my top 3 linebacker for 2023. He's definitely up there. I just don't think he'll be a good pair with Brooks. Iridescence, I have Elden Ring on PC. It's fine at times, but yes, it still definitely has frame lag issues. It's not unplayable, but it can get annoying. Yeah, I'm hoping they iron that stuff out before I start it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but From Software is pretty good with this stuff. If you play Elden Ring, don't watch walkthrough vids and stuff because it kind of ruins the experience. I don't plan on watching walkthroughs. Start Penny or Walker? Well, I guess Walker, but it doesn't matter that much to me. You must have not watched many Jacksonville games last season. Every game they lose looked like 10 Chattanooga versus Alabama. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not like they were losing 65 to nothing. They would score touchdowns every now and then. They would score a point every occasionally. I'm not a big fan of Rattler either. He's apparently as bright as Big Ben in Pittsburgh when it comes to screwing bars over with tabs, acting up with women, and other character issues, but they are the issue. Oh, I didn't know about that. I just knew that his star has fallen very fast. Mason, unfortunately, looks like our second first-round pick will most likely be spent on a less valuable position. Center, guard, linebacker, interior, defensive line. But there's nothing wrong with that if the guy's there. Like, I've done some initial checking. I don't think any centers or guards are going to be worth the pick later in the first round. Linebacker and interior defensive line, probably so, but look, if you can afford to spend a first-round pick on a linebacker because your other areas are taken care of, then do it. I mean, look, if you did a redraft of the 2020 draft, Jordan Brooks would be a first-round pick. And I say that as somebody who hated that pick, and I still don't like it. But Jordan Brooks would get drafted in the first round if you did a redraft. And probably so would Darrell Taylor, honestly. So, I don't think that pick looks nearly as bad as it does in hindsight. I still don't like it, but under the condition of Amadi going, you trust Blair as third safety / cornerback in passing downs if healthy, or to give the other safeties breathers. I was hyped after the games he played as a rookie / last year. Sure. If healthy, yes. I don't trust him to be healthy, though. Hey, Brian. Motive. I also hear that they really wanted Josh Allen and were willing to trade Russ to get him, and Baker Mayfield and Pat Mahomes. So I don't know if it's just like they don't want to pay a quarterback that much money no matter what, or if there's something with Russ that they really just wanted to be done with. But it's weird. Elijah Owens selling the team. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get to that today, but I expect it to happen, even though Jody's pushing back on it. Just because they wanted Lock in 2019 doesn't mean they were going to let Wilson go. They could have had him learn from Wilson for a couple years. Yeah, but even then, the plan is still to let Wilson go, even if it's a year or two down the line. And most teams don't spend a second-round pick on a quarterback and then let him sit for a couple years. It might be a year at most, but that almost implies that you're planning on moving on from Wilson in the imminent future. Would you rather draft Will Anderson or C.J. Stroud / other top end quarterback? Oh, definitely Stroud. I like Stroud enough, and quarterback is important. Hashtag Brendan is a better streamer than Iden Ross. I don't know who Iden Ross is off the top of my head. Sorry, Bao, but thank you. I think that's a good thing. Tommy Eden, didn't John say he was used to drafting a quarterback every few years under Ted Thompson, and it didn't work out in Seattle due to draft position? Maybe that's why they wanted Lock? Well, yeah, Tommy, but Drew Lock was a second-round pick. The quarterbacks that they took in Green Bay under Ted Thompson were like sixth-round picks. Mark Brunell, Matt Hasselbeck. I don't think they ever spent a second-round pick on a quarterback, and if they did, that's probably bad. Brendan, my fellow, appreciate the work. Been here since 1K. Thank you, Bao. Appreciate it. Wittamus, I watched Noah Fant's most recent presser, and it really got me excited about the possibilities of the Waldron offense. Of course, it was usual off-season hype, but still sounds exciting. Lauren Johnson, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, the off-season stuff is always going to be kind of nonsensical. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the DJ Jones quote from the Denver training camp, but he was like, the stuff Wilson does to evade pressure, I swear I've never seen anyone ever do it before in my life. It's like, dude, you were on the Niners. We were talking about this in stream. Like, you were on the Niners for 5 years. You saw Wilson do that constantly. Whatever he's doing in training camp, it can't be better than what he was doing 5 years ago in terms of evading pressure. So, what the heck? Lauren Johnson, how about Walker as another Devin Hester? I don't think that's the comp. Hester was smaller and faster. Walker's a running back. Hester's a wide receiver / return man. Zua, Ryan Neal is a great player out of the crop. He just needs a suitable role for him. He impressed me more than the rest and cheaper. I think Ryan Neal's role should be dime corner. I think he's fine there. Good enough. Luke Ryan, with the amount of cap space the Seahawks have left, would you be happy with the Seahawks bringing KJ Wright back on a 1-year deal for the vet minimum? No. He should be a coach, if anything, and we should save that money to roll it over into 2023. I don't need KJ Wright. Boney and Hawks and every other team in the league was looking at Allen. Yeah. Zua, yeah, Rattler is actually a big douchebag with a lot of potential, maybe more arrogant as Josh Rosen, and he's a mess too. Well, that never helps, right? Like, that's part of the reason why I think nobody wants Baker Mayfield. He's got a weird personality. Like, Baker Mayfield is definitely a top 32 quarterback in the league, but he's not anywhere near good enough to justify his personality. He's not as good as, like, a Jay Cutler. Motive, they went and scouted him. It said that is what caused the rift between Russ and the Hawks. There are also rumors of trade talks. Like, here's the thing, though. Was the rift, like, intentional on the part of the team? Are they happy about the rift? Were they like, okay, fine, we didn't want you that much anyway? We're trying to figure out how to replace you? Or were they trying to sneak it past Russ and they were like, oh crap, we've been spotted? But if that's how you feel, then why did you, then why would you meet with Josh Allen in the first place if you love Russ? Maybe in 15 years, they're going to write a book about all this stuff and we'll figure out what the truth was. But right now, we're never going to know, as far as we know. Iridescence, I feel like that liking Drew Lock thing was a lie. Didn't the Bears supposedly have some crazy offer that we turned down around that time? No, this was a couple years before that, Iridescence. Skills Main. Thank you. Welcome. Mason, I like the idea of flipping Lockett for his second pick next year and drafting a wide receiver with Denver's pick. I wouldn't mind that, but the contract may not allow it. Lockett's contract is pretty, how should I put this? It's going to be pretty difficult to deal. Gucci Young Dreams, let's get to the playoffs, go Seahawks. I mean, I'm not interested in going to the playoffs to get blasted immediately, so I don't know about that, but if we can get to the playoffs and go on a run, then yeah, let's do it. Tumbo, remember Hester came in as a corner? Oh yeah, he did. He was a corner return man, and then he switched to receiver. He wasn't very good at either, but he is the greatest return man who ever lived. Tommy Eden, Ryan Neal has some value in special teams, doesn't he? I might be mistaken with that. I don't think he plays special teams, which is too bad. He could add a lot of value there. Iridescence, there are more than 17 likes. On my screen, I see 52. Although, yes, if you haven't liked the stream already, please do so. We do have over 150 people in here and about 52 likes. Christy Marie, I like that guys from LOB stick around Seattle and are clearly still fond of the Seahawks organization. Well, some of them, Christy. Not all of them. Not all of them at all. Earl Thomas doesn't know what planet he's on, and Sherman is a love-hate thing. So, I don't know about that. Mason, do you think bringing back former players as coaches makes a real difference, or does it just sound like a good move because it's someone the fans know? I think it could make a difference. KJ Wright does some things that most players don't do. Like, he was great against screens, which is something that we have been... I mean, look, I'm not saying we should have brought back KJ Wright because he couldn't really do that stuff anymore either. But maybe he can pass it on. King Bomber, I think teams would pay a first for Lockett. I seriously doubt that, King Bomber. I mean, the Chargers didn't even give up a first for Khalil Mack. Tommy Eden, honestly, I don't think they had any faith that Russ could take us to a Super Bowl with the team we could give him due to salary. I think they wanted a cheap, good rookie quarterback. Yeah, that has to be a big part. That has to be a big part of why they did this, right, Tommy? Absolutely. Denots, for crying out loud, just hit the like button. It's the easiest way to support me. Noah, your thoughts about the future of the D-line? Any game records in the next draft or free agency? I did a little bit of preliminary looking into the next draft, and I did find some guys. The thing is, we need to see what kind of defense we're running. We need to see if it's going to be a lot of 3-4, a lot of 4-3, or a good mix, or only one, or only the other. We're going to need to see what we actually do this year, I think. Iridescence, doesn't a majority of Super Bowl teams have a quarterback and a rookie deal? Kinda, Iridescence, yeah. Scott, if we do not win the SB this season, why not tank the season? Well, I don't think teams really tank, Scott. They might just kind of like throw in the towel a little bit because of injuries, and they might just decide, you know what, why risk a guy getting his torn Achilles when the season's over anyway? They might think of it like that. Zua, I see Lockett as a third more than a second due to his contract. It's a lot of money to take for a second to potential first receiver for a team. That's very possible too. Also his age. And he's older than his age. He's not going to last as long as some of these receivers, I don't think. He's already showing signs to me. Mason, I think Lockett's value drops to a third after his numbers plummet with no Russ. Yeah, that's also probably the case. Mass Temple, I think Nwosu and Taylor will be the starting outside linebackers with Robinson and Mafe behind them. Where does that leave Tyreek Smith, though? All right, guys, we are now officially in overtime. It is now a couple minutes past 8 o'clock. So I'll go for a couple more minutes here. See if we can get the like numbers up. See if we can get some last-minute donations in and field a few more questions. But after this stream is over, you can catch me over on Twitch. I'm going to be doing Ghost of Tsushima for probably the rest of the evening. Iridescence, other than DJ Dallas, who's our return man? Freddie Swain? Our return man, hopefully it could be like Bo Melton. That would be cool. Bo Melton did some of that in college. David M., remember, the Cowboys only got a fifth for Amari Cooper. That's a great point. Yeah. In that case, though, everyone knew the Cowboys needed to get rid of him. Everyone kind of knew that the Cowboys were going to get rid of Cooper so they could hold out for a tiny little bit. So, I don't know if that's the case with Lockett. We could always say with Lockett, well, okay, we're just going to keep him. I'm hoping, Zua, I'm hoping Mafe will burst out this year. He's my sleeper rookie. I'm not expecting a ton from him as a rookie, but I think he'll be very good in year 2 and beyond. Motive, good talks, Brandon. Love the channel. I appreciate that, Motive. Thank you. Mass Temple, Penny, Eskridge, Hart, and Melton can all return kicks. Yeah, I think Melton is probably my favorite guy to do it. I would much prefer Melton to anyone else. Harrison Hill, great content. Appreciate that, Harrison. Thank you. Just Tags, I want Young to be a running back. I mean, he's probably going to play a dual role, so he'll get a chance to do some of both. King Bomber, wouldn't having Nwosu and Mafe be the starting outside linebackers make more sense? I don't think so, King Bomber. Outside linebacker with Mafe starting, I don't think he's going to be ready for that kind of role yet, personally. Iridescence, enjoy the rest of your night, Brendan. Go Hawks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Noah, what would be nice in season trades of our roster to teams who maybe want to win during the or get desperate to perform? Anything that you can get if you know the season's going to go in a bad direction. Like, you could trade Rashad Penny. You could trade Rashad Penny for a little bit if you're not planning on bringing him back because he's on a 1-year deal. That would be a guy near the top of my list. Maybe some of these defensive backs. Maybe you could trade Artie Burns if he gets off to a good start, I guess. Justin Coleman. Oh, boy. Christy Marie, burning hot take. Shamarius Gilmore beats out Blythe to start at center week 1. Can Gilmore play center? I have him listed as a guard. If he can play center, that'd be pretty cool. Because Blythe's probably not going to be here long term, so that would be awesome. I like Gilmore a lot. If he could be a future starter, that would be such a load off my mind. Mason Dahl, the only thing I like about Swain starting is he can make the chip blocks that Waldron calls for, unlike Eskridge, who is too small. Yeah, that's the thing about the Eskridge pick that's kind of a head-scratcher. I get a lot of it, but Waldron's offense needs receivers to be good blockers, and Eskridge just, he can't do it. King Bomber, the reason I saw Mafe as an OLB is because of his 40 time and lack of run defense. Well, I think in this defense he will be an outside linebacker. That's his best role, and I think that's what we're going to use him as. Zua, I want Penny traded for a 5th round pick once Walker breaks this year. I'm okay with that, especially if you're not going to bring Penny back. Iridescence right at the end too. Yeah. King Bomber, and then Daryl Taylor would be my starting end. Yeah, Daryl Taylor needs to start either way. Roy Froelich, thank you for the $5 Canadian, which I guess is about $4 American. I don't know. Cheers, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. Tribe, Trey Lance is busting out of the bag. We'll pass him up sooner than later. Yeah, the Trey Lance thing is that plot is starting to thicken a little bit. It's not off to a great start over there. I mean, it's year 2. Mason, Mafe was low-key good at covering running backs in the flat. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Showed a little bit of that ability at Minnesota. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for this stream. We went a little more than an hour. That's all I really wanted to do. I do plan on doing this again on either Tuesday or Wednesday evening. I don't know which day, but Tuesday or Wednesday evening will be the next Seahawks stream like this, and then Thursday, we will probably do a stream with the Hawks Nest. We took last week off this week off, because there was nothing to talk about, and we would have just sat there for however long to talk about Top Gun, and I don't think anybody really is that interested in seeing that. So, hopefully we'll have something to talk about this week. But we took this week off. Next week, we'll see. Do you think Cody Parkinson does anything this season with Uncle Will and Fant ahead of him? Probably not, Patagucci. I don't think he's much of anything other than a gimmick player. Mass Temple, thank you. King Bomber, thoughts if Seattle will sign another bigger end that can stop the run? I really only see 2 people on this roster that can do that, Harris and Jefferson. I think they're going to see what they can do with Puna. I think they're going to see what Puna can do in that role. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you guys on Twitch in a few minutes here. I'm going to jump on Ghost of Tsushima and probably play for like 4 or 5 hours, honestly. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're going to do this again mid next week, and we'll see if the team gives us anything to discuss beyond the obvious. All right. Go Hawks.